March 25, 1982, Arlington, Virginia. A woman walks into a stylish singles bar. She meets a charming stranger with a military past, a luxury car, and a story too good to be true. 1 week later, she's found dead in the woods, naked and shot execution style. No one knows who he is. No one knows why she died. But the man she trusted would vanish into thin air until fate forced him to watch his own face on national TV. This is the story of Hilda Roche and the hunt for Gregory Barker, a man some believe was a serial killer hiding in plain sight. Hilda Amelia Roche was 43 years old. A divorcee and Army civilian employee, she worked in military intelligence for the Department of the Army in Arlington, Virginia. Intelligent, independent, and deeply respected by her peers, Hilda led a quiet, focused life. That changed on March 25, 1982, when she visited Rafters, a popular singles bar in Alexandria. She wasn't the kind to throw herself into random flings, but that night she met someone who swept her off her feet. He was handsome, charming, said he was single, wealthy, and did contract work for the government. He drove a luxurious car and seemed to have it all together. To Hilda, he was mysterious, alluring, maybe even the real deal. But there was one problem. She never told anyone his name. Her friends were cautious. One of them even warned her, "Don't believe everything he says." That car could be rented. People make up stories all the time. Hilda brushed it off. She was excited. She even went to his apartment at Oakwood Apartments, a massive 1,400-unit complex. A few days later, she mentioned she'd lost her wallet, and oddly, the man insisted on being contacted if it was found. Something about it didn't sit right with her friends. They would never see Hilda alive again. 1 week later, April 2, 1982, the nude body of a woman was found in a wooded area behind an elementary school in Montclair, Virginia, about 9.5 miles from Hilda's home. She'd been sexually assaulted and then shot in the head, execution style. There was no ID, no purse, no name. She was simply labeled as Jane Doe. It wasn't until 4 days later that police linked the murdered woman to a missing persons report filed by Hilda's co-workers. When they entered her townhouse in Arlington, the living room was in disarray. Her wallet was found inside. The bedroom was worse. Clothing scattered everywhere, pantyhose, adhesive tape, and clear evidence of a violent struggle. Police immediately knew this wasn't a robbery gone wrong. There was no forced entry. Whoever killed Hilda, she'd let them in. That meant one terrifying thing. She knew her killer. Detectives knew they had a narrow window. The first 48 hours in a murder case are often the most crucial. But they were already 4 days behind. Still, they had one lead. The man Hilda had met at Rafters. Her friends said he lived at Oakwood Apartments, was from Florida, and said he worked in government contracting. But with over 1,400 units in that complex, tracking him would be like finding a needle in a haystack. Detectives dug deep, combing through over 30,000 rental records from Oakwood. From that list, they identified 32 possible suspects who matched the physical and background profile. They hit a wall until a subtle, forgotten clue resurfaced. Remember the wallet Hilda lost the night she met the man? The manager of Rafters had turned it in. The man, who still hadn't been identified, came back to claim it on her behalf. That same man contacted Rafters again when the wallet was found. Why would someone Hilda barely knew go out of their way to track her missing wallet. And how did he even know she lost it? Detectives interviewed the bar manager. She said she barely remembered the man, but she agreed to try hypnosis. During the session, she recalled a phone number, a partial one, scrambled but still useful. Using those digits, detectives cross-referenced a list of 32 Oakwood residents and found a match. The number belonged to Gregory Richard Barker, a 38-year-old Army veteran. Barker had moved out shortly after Hilda's death. His forwarding address led to Las Vegas, Nevada, but by the time authorities arrived, he was gone. Fingerprints found in Hilda's apartment confirmed it. Gregory Barker was in her home the night she died. But who was he? That's where things got even stranger. Gregory Barker was not a government contractor. He was a decorated Vietnam War veteran who had served 2 tours, the second in Army intelligence. But after his military career ended, something inside him began to unravel. He became obsessed with spy novels, war games, and fantasy missions. Detectives believed Barker may have begun living in a delusion, pretending to be an elite spy, constructing fake identities, and manipulating women through elaborate lies. Detective Donald Cahill, the lead investigator, painted a chilling picture of what happened the night Hilda died. Barker likely visited Hilda under the pretense of returning her wallet. Inside her home, a violent argument broke out. Upstairs, clothing was removed. Whether consensual or not, there were signs of sexual activity, but also signs of a struggle. Then the most horrifying detail emerged. Barker had forcibly taken Hilda out of her home while she was naked and loaded her into the trunk of his car. Forensics later found her shoe print in the trunk. He drove her nearly 10 miles away to the woods near the elementary school. There, he forced her to walk 150 feet into the trees and shot her in the head. Detective Cahill didn't believe Hilda was Barker's only victim. He suspected Gregory Barker of committing multiple murders, possibly 6 or more, including the 1980s murder of Lisa Jo Shaner, the daughter of an FBI agent in Arizona. In Las Vegas, Barker was also wanted for 3 armed bank robberies. In fact, he'd already been arrested in September 1984, but made bail, and vanished again. By 1991, Gregory Barker had been on the run for nearly a decade. That is, until his face appeared on national television on April 24, 1991. Unsolved Mysteries aired the case of Gregory Barker to millions of viewers across America. That night, a woman named Kathy Regnier, a Phoenix, Arizona office manager, was watching the episode from her couch. She froze when she saw the face on screen. She knew that man. He worked in her office building. Everyone knew him as Alex Graham, a smooth-talking telemarketer with charm and charisma. She called the Unsolved Mysteries tip line immediately. The next morning, she went to the office to confirm one detail, the scar on his forehead. When she saw it, she called the FBI. At 12:03 p.m. on April 25, 1991, FBI agents arrested Gregory Barker at his workplace without incident. During interrogation, Barker insisted he was a government agent, claiming his arrest was part of a military cover-up. The delusion had taken full control. Barker was extradited to Nevada to face the armed robbery charges first. In December 1991, he was convicted on 3 counts of armed robbery and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Then came Virginia. In May 1992, Barker pleaded guilty to the first-degree murder of Hilda Roche. He was sentenced to 110 years. with 50 years suspended. But justice didn't end there. When he was released from federal prison in February 2003, he was immediately transferred to Virginia to begin serving the rest of his time. Gregory Barker has since died behind bars. The murder of Lisa Jo Shaner, once thought to be Barker's work, was later solved in 2011. Her killer was someone else entirely, William Floyd Zamastille. But questions still remain about whether Barker had more victims. Was Hilda his only murder? Or was she simply the one who brought his spree to an end? In a world where truth can be manipulated and personas can be created like masks, Gregory Barker became a shadow, blending fantasy with reality, lies with charm, and eventually, life with death. Hilda Roche was intelligent, brave, and trusted the wrong person. Her story reminds us that danger doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it smiles, speaks smoothly, and offers to return a wallet. And sometimes, justice waits 9 years before catching up. Subscribe for more cold cases.